talking all things theatre and events.
Kind of had to think really quickly about what our ethos was going to be and what our aims and goals of it was to be.
We created all of the creative captions. We put them all into the programme.
There's so many people out there who make such an effort to give back to young people trying to start up and do it. And it's absolutely fantastic.
The Stage Is Yours podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Stage Is Yours podcast with me, your host Cal Graham, joined as always by producer Dan, here to talk all things theatre and events. Today we're joined by Freddy Marlow and Erin Thomson, and we talk all things theatre, from what it's like to work in the industry to how we got into it and an awful lot more as well. Let's not waste any more time. Erin Thomson and Freddy Marlow, the stage is yours. Right, join us. We've got Freddy Marlow and Erin Thomson. How are we both?
Very good, thank you. Nice to be here.
Okay. Yeah, I'm good too.
Yeah.
Glad to be back.
Erin's back, first repeating guest.
Yeah.
This time talking all things production and what we do with our normal Saturday nights, which is stand on the back of a truck for lots of hours. So let's talk about what we'll do for a living. So we're all in the production side of things. So Freddie, how about you, mate? Let's little overview about you and what you get up to on shows.
Yeah, so I'm head of lighting. I was on Mamma Mia before obviously COVID hit. So yeah, my job basically is to make sure that the design of whatever show I'm on looks the same in every venue. And as we move from venue to venue, obviously that has different challenges. You know, you don't always have exactly the same angles to work with lighting wise. But in general, yeah, it's just to make sure the production looks exactly as it should do. If it was a West End show, it looks exactly the same as it does in the West End. And basically just make sure that the designers design looks exactly as it should do. And with that, it means then I also operate during the show. So we are either on the lighting desk or we have a backstage plot as well. So yeah, just in general, just maintaining the show as well, maintaining all the kit as well, which is obviously a massive part of the job. Most shows I've done, I have about two full trucks worth of lighting kit on the show. So it's kind of just keeping everything in check.
Grand. And Erin, technical swing. This is a challenge we both have had over the last few months of actually explaining what a technical swing is.
Yes. So technical swing, I mean, it varies from show to show. It's totally show dependent and what that show requires, and which departments require a swing. So, for example, when we were on Jersey Boys, that's the first show I was a swing on, and I'm scared that I'm going to be repeating myself from the last one, but we'll go with it.
It's fine, just go with it. It's all right.
So on Jersey Boys, I covered, the two ASM plots, the stage manager plot, the automation, the LX and sound number 3 plots, which were like, the sound number 2 plot on Jersey Boys was like changing mics, and there was lots of guitars and things like that involved. So doing all that kind of thing, switching them out. And then the LX plot was like setting, what was it, Freddie? Setting the floodlights at the back? Yeah, not floodlights, what are they called? Such a good technical swing right here.
Luckily it was Jersey Boys, actually the stage plot, there's a stage LX plot you covered, but luckily that was actually quite a nice, easy plot with not too much to do. Yeah. But there was that one moment at the end of Act 1 for Dawn where the boys go upstage, and it's a fantastic lighting effect where it basically, as the audience, you feel that you're actually backstage in a concert looking out, and you see the boys, they kind of turn around and
the silhouette type effect, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of my favourite light effects actually in all theatre. It's brilliant. But there was a very brief moment where on the stage LX plot you have about, I would say, 15 to 20 seconds to a curtain fly, a fly piece flies in front of you. You have about 15, 20 seconds to get on, plug up to lighting buttons, and then you have to get the hell off stage very, very quickly. If you don't get off stage, that fly piece isn't going to stop for you. You've got to get off before you get revealed, and if you are there, you make a quick exit.
And it's very, very dark behind there.
Always.
And you had to put them on marks and things like that. But I mean, I would say that the only time I messed it up was one time they were pointing a little bit too low or something like that. And Freddie gave me a note, which was
Wasn't that hard?
which I gladly took in the pub. I gladly took it. I said, okay, no problem. I'll fix it for next time. But no, sorry, off on a tangent. But yes, so some shows require lots and lots of different departments need the swing, where you're spread pretty thin and you've got to learn loads of different plots, which is what I really enjoy about the role, because you get to do loads of different things every day. And then other shows, not so much. So like when we were on Romeo and Juliet, Cal, I was a swing, but mainly done the carpentry plot and just one other ASM plot. I think I'd done the stage manager plot a couple of times, but apart from that, that was pretty much it. So it varies from show to show. So, but the way I always try to explain it to people is that you are the jack of all trades, master of none. So
I think
you
that's
just
hard, Sharon. I think that most tech swings I've worked with actually end up weirdly being masters of all of them. And
thanks, Fred. I've only been your swing once actually. But yeah, thank you for that. I'll take that. But no, I find that's the easiest way to explain it to people, is that you learn everything to the show standard that you need to, that the person whose role that is does it to, and then you just switch about. Your kind of schedule during the week is you jump from department to department and just fit in where you're needed, kind of thing. So yeah, that's me as a technical swing, and Cal sometimes.
And me sometimes. Well, I mean, we were quite lucky in the last one. Well, I say I was a technical swing on Red Shoes, but I kind of covered between sound and lighting, so it was kind of
Well, you were sound and LX swing, and I was everything else. Well, you've done a wee bit of auto as well, actually.
Well, the plan was to do more auto, but then it's all stopped and ended. So, like literally the week I was supposed to learn it all, and that was that. So yeah, it's one of those. I think not every show obviously has two, but I think it kind of quite nice to have that. And I think
I've never actually worked on a show that has had two. So in general, when you have two, is it generally a split of kind of lighting and sound as one, and then stage management more as the other? Is that the kind of norm? I don't know. Obviously, you've had more experience with.
That's how we done it. We had Cal on sound and LX, and he swung between them, and then on a loadout as well. Gosh, the loadouts were funny though. We just kind of fit in where we had to, in a sense.
Yeah, the loadout was very much kind of where we felt we fitted in it, as where best benefited everyone, really. So it was kind of where it happened to be, and we kind of did figure out a way that it worked. So
I would do like the stage management plots, automation, and the carpentry and the flies. So I was maybe like stage swing as a whole, I suppose. If you want to look at it as a whole, I was like stage swing, and Cal was like LX and sound.
LX and sound. Most of the time we were out when we weren't in London and we didn't have an orchestra, it was predominantly LX, and then with sound cover, to be honest, from the most part. And then, I mean, I'd spent half my life with scrollers, so
well, they're horrible.
Yeah, you did.
Constantly re-scrolling them or fixed them or sorted them
all the time.
Well, it was one place where
Plymouth, when we opened in Plymouth,
it was
you and Josh were sat in LX Den, Lampy World.
Week, yeah.
What's it called? Dimmer World. Oh my
World.
God, how long have we not been in a theatre for, guys? I couldn't remember that.
I know. Yeah, Plymouth Tech Week. Every time we got to a little break and Proddies came into stuff, we're like, right, that scrollers broke that, and then me and Josh would sit waiting for something to do, but also just re-scrolling scrollers, and yeah, that was absolute nightmare for hours on end.
I've been very, very lucky in my career to only have to use scrollers once on my first ever show. Since then, every show I've had has made a move to LEDs, which
yes,
godsend.
It would have been the dream.
Well, the old school lighting,
Yeah, I mean, the first time Shoes went round, it was all Source 4 Revs and TW1s. So an Encore, the Mac Encore wasn't a thing at that point. So I dread to think what.
Actually, I've just told a massive lie. We've got Revs of scrollers on Mamma Mia.
A great number one, Fred.
It's been too long. I mean, I think maybe the reason I've forgotten is because actually they've managed to behave themselves.
Oh,
that's a rare thing.
It was. I think I've probably had one broken and or one or two. I mean, my number 2 is going to listen to this and go, yeah, sure, Freddie, yeah, as if you remember that.
Yeah, 1 or 2, mate. You only fixed 1 or 2.
An hour is fixing scrollers for me, and I've just not even noticed. So I'm
That's
sorry.
delegation right there.
I'm sorry. No, I have used scrollers a lot more than I thought. But yeah, I think I had problems on my first ever job. I had problems with scrollers. I think that's why I remember them in such a bad light. But
They're just temperamental, so much so, and yeah, still PTSD of the noise of turning everything on. Of just, I mean, yeah, and then Erin just being like, oh, and then automation were like, we can't, because we'd have them breaking all the time, so they'd just sit twitching during auto rig checks, and they were like, no, you can't turn any of them on till we're done. We were like, okay, sorry.
Well, yeah, because we couldn't hear, so obviously automation, you're mainly relying on the sound, basically, the sound you're hearing. Yeah.
Well, because it was so high up, wasn't it? It was what?
It was really,
it.
really, it was in a grid above like the portals and things like that. So you're relying on listening out for problems because you can't particularly see everything unless it's really obvious. So you're listening out for issues as opposed to like being able to look for them. Whereas on Jersey Boys doing the auto checks, it was all pretty much visual, but you still had to listen as well, of course. And then with the scrollers happening during rig checks, we were just like, is that a problem with the pros, or is that a broken scroller? Can't quite tell.
It's just electrics again, of course.
Ruining our lives. Bloody lampies.
Always in the way as well. Always in the way. But I think these, like I said, we're talking about things here that we do on our jobs that people aren't aware of, that we kind of obviously, the amount of stuff that goes into making that show, make sure it is the same every time, that we're all 2, maybe 3 hours at least before a show, kind of rig checks, checking everything's working, checking that,
and then making sure everything's working, and
little gremlins haven't gotten in overnight, and
yeah,
I think
that's
that's
their magic.
One of the weirdest things when you say like the gremlins is it is so strange that the night before you have no problem, you turn a lighting rig off, it's absolutely fine, and then 5 o'clock next day, if it's or midday, if it's a matinee day, you come in and somehow something's just decided, right? Obviously it's technology, but it is strange how many problems you can have from literally nothing, and nothing's changed. And I guess that's temperature in theatres obviously makes a massive issue to that. Obviously they change and don't leave heating on, stuff like that. But it is very, very strange that things do manage to break so much. Obviously, both our jobs all 3 of our jobs are to fix them. But even with automation, you think, well, hold on a second, this job, this thing was moving yesterday and it was flying in perfectly, and today nothing's changed. It's not like someone's doing maintenance on it and that's why it's broken. It's actually just broken by turning on. Yeah. It's in its own sequence, it's managed to break itself. I think it's a bit odd, but it's how
I think the gremlins we had on Jersey Boys, and they just certain venues just hated Frankie Valley by the seams of it. South End, Dublin, we had a couple of gremlins in Dublin, or was it Cardiff? Maybe.
But actually,
yeah, they just come out of nowhere, don't they? And
they do, but weird. I mean, obviously, it is turning it off and on because I did. I was lucky enough to do Garsington Opera for a season there last year. No, not last year before. I've lost track of time now. And
that was only last year.
Is it last year? I can't remember.
Yeah.
But because it's a kind of it's outdoor basically, or half outdoor kind of. It's a lovely, lovely, beautiful setup. But we chose to actually leave most of our rig on because it did get so cold overnight that actually it was definitely more detrimental to the lights, and we'd have so many problems. And weirdly, by leaving it on, I don't think we had actually any problems at all. I think we had a lot to do because we had 4 different shows in on top of each other, so we were moving it around. But in terms of lighting, I think we had one issue where I think we had a bit of an issue with a panel tilt. But other than that, it was absolutely fine for the whole 3 months, which is that's unheard of for me. But I think actually it was just the fact that they weren't resetting every night. And because they were kept at a nice temperature, because their fans were always running, so they were at their optimum kind of level, it actually made a massive difference. So it is very interesting to see that difference between keeping them on and not keeping them on. So that's a bit dull, but
So I think it's one of those things.
No, well, you can't do that in a touring venue though.
no, you wouldn't be allowed to in a touring venue,
Yeah.
for other reasons. But I suppose if you were able to do that in a touring venue, that might help. I mean, obviously, everything depends on the technology and how old it is as well.
Yeah.
If you've got a brand new shiny rig, which is from, I mean, I don't know what the lighting was like on Red Shoes or
It's a
Romeo.
bit of a mix on Red Shoes, because like I said, we had some TW1s in there that were still in there, but some Mac Encores and stuff, and it was white light, so it was kind of, the scrollers are obviously just, I think White Light are probably one of the few
think
companies
the
who still
scrollers
hold a
are
stock of
really-
them.
Realish. Oh, what about the bloody those big things? What are they called?
Oh,
big
you're talking about CO2 canisters.
The big CO2 canisters that would literally mid-show, like out of nowhere, would just decide that they were gonna. What was it called? when they
Well, I
done
mean,
that?
it was a good thing that they were venting, because
venting. That's
caused us
it.
a problem. However, it was just an absolute nightmare that whenever
You go off in the middle of a show and it would be like.
it was fine when we were in tech and we were running two of them, but yeah, when we had to drop to one, it kind of didn't. Yeah, it was that, and then we didn't use it. To further on, it got changed that we used it less. So actually, we had way more CO2 than we needed. So we weren't using it enough to keep the pressure balanced. And
Was that a low smoke effect, or was that just
yeah, low smoke.
Low smoke.
And yeah, it got filled up on the basis that in the early part during Plymouth and things like that, it got used a lot more. There was a whole sort of I think like a 15-minute, like half of Red Shoes Ballet was low smoke, and then for one night. For some reason we fired a cue late, and the creatives were like, it looked much better coming on that bit later, because it started chilling so much later, it didn't come on at the right time. So we were like, oh great, and the creatives really liked that moment, so it all got changed to that. And then we were like, but it's been, and now obviously then we encountered the issues that it was just kind of, we were using it absolutely such a small amount for the what we were touring, that we were just it took a little while to kind of balance it out. I think we had a week where
like,
big canisters.
But they only had you know the big massive ones that are like
the
size of me probably.
Yeah, we use them, but I mean,
oh,
it's weird about them because you kind of, I would love to know actually how much you could get, like in it. Like it's quite difficult to work out how actual long you've got. I kind of worked it out. I could probably do a show and a half on one canister. But you just don't want to risk it, because obviously, if the CO2 runs out, it looks awful, because the smoke
to us once
start rising, and there's a hell of a lot of smoke that will just cover.
How often did theirs get filled up, Cal? It was like every 5 or 6 venues or something like that.
I'd say it was at least once we were out moving weekly, I'd say it was every 2 to 3 weeks. It was filled up. Like that's how we were using a little bit, but we'd run it longer. We figured out that if we ran it for a chunk in rig check, it reduced the risk of it going off in show. So we kind of would let it
during the show about 3 or 4 times, maybe.
It happened like all in one. We had 1 week in Saddlers where it was just
it was doing it all the time. I remember
for
that.
whatever reason decided it was.
And then all the cast were looking off like, what the fuck is that? And we were like,
what's going
okay.
on?
So I guess
a big screaming silver baby in the corner here.
Oh, no, it's fine.
A beautiful ballet piece, I guess, might be slightly ruined by
it. Always picks the quietest moment as well.
It had literally
fail.
quietest. And it was like beautiful solo happening on stage, all romantic and that. This big CO2 canister venting itself. It was a nightmare.
Well, I have to say, it's definitely a better option than dry ice
it looked fantastic. Like it looked absolutely beautiful.
Or a glaciator. I mean, both of the, CO2 certainly at the moment. I know there's new technologies out there. I know a few shows are using them. And I've kind of looked into it and to kind of see whether, how good they actually look, and kind of had a bit of an interest in it. But at the moment, it does seem that CO2 is still the best option. I mean, I guess when you guys had an orchestra, did you? Because obviously CO2 sinks to the floor. Did you have alarms in there?
Full alarm system in the pit. That went up to Sammy. I don't think we even got to a point. It certainly, there was one point it went off, but that's because someone managed to pull the cable out of it in the pit when they were walking in.
Oh
And
yeah.
that was the only time it went off. And Sam was like, "Cal, the CO2 alarm's going off." I'm like, "What? But the CO2's not been on." So I'm so confused.
Violin is just tripped.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to say, I've had quite a few alarms, and it's really interesting going to different venues. And then we do have alarms, and the health and safety on it basically means it obviously we've got to be absolutely safe for the orchestra, and they are completely safe. So you kind of have it at a very, if it goes above a certain level, obviously it's alarm 1, which means we have kind of 10-15 minutes to get it back down to safe, or we have to evacuate. But there's been times where me and the stage manager have had to run down to the pit, and literally we've been like opening and closing doors,
Wafting it.
Wafted it.
trying to get as much oxygen in there. It's like and all the orchestra are just playing away, and it's just like they're having absolutely great fun.
They're always oblivious. It's fine.
They love it. They think it's like it seems like a bit of a game. They're like, "Oh, am I going to have to stand up at my chair in a minute to leave the pit?"
There's someone here. What's going on? Yeah, it was.
I can't see anything anymore. What's happening?
Well, the irony is actually the amount of smoke there is nothing to do with the amount of CO2 there, of course. Obviously CO2 is invisible. So sometimes they're like, "Oh, it's very smoky in the pit today," and it's like, that's actually nothing to do with the CO2. So we're not trying to get the smoke out. We're trying to get the CO2 out, which you can't. It's in the air. No one knows it's there. Like the only reason we know we know it's going to be some CO2 there. But the only reason we know we need to worry about it is because we have the CO2 alarm. And yeah, and it's really weird venue to venue, the difference it matters. I mean, I know another weird one as well, which I find with that is that there'd be certain shows where we do it in the dress rehearsal because we're lucky enough we get a dress rehearsal before we perform to the public in every venue we go to. And in the dress rehearsal, there's not one problem at all. It's absolutely fine. And we run it obviously absolutely full out, same levels, of course you do, it's dress rehearsal. And then you suddenly put 1,500 people in a theatre, and for some reason it just reacts completely differently. Mm-hmm. And there might be someone who's listening to this who's going to turn around, well, obviously, because
Freddie.
Duh. It's also different that it's really weird that even on like a matinee day at the matinee it's fine, in the evening show it's not, and it's like, are people breathing less in this theatre? Like what? Yeah. Maybe capacity. I'm sure there is.
Well, no. Wait. Let's figure this out right now. I'm about.
Here we go.
This might sound. Oh, shut up. I'm really clever. I'll have you all know. Thank you very much.
Not denying that, mate.
No, but with 1,500 people in an auditorium, right?
Yeah.
And the pit highly visible, etc., and their air's all the auditoriums air. I know we all share air and whatever, but you know what I mean. Like parameter speaking, they're pretty much in the same parameter, yeah. So 1,500 people breathing out CO2.
Yeah,
that's why there's more.
Yes, yeah, of course. Obviously, I know that as a basic, but then I kind of think it's really shocking of how.
I think it's really.
How much it makes. It should make maybe a tiny bit of difference. But
it's really bizarre how much it has an impact.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong.
To like look up how much CO2 the average human breathes out in 2.5 hours.
Well, you say that, like even down to, I've known some, you can have a gauze in at the start of your show, a cloth, and we had this similar to Romeo and Juliet with an air current and people breathing. That gauze can move and swing as it then flies, because purely from people breathing and the temperature that the audience generate, you suddenly get this mad air current going between stage and on that.
Had to put that bloody string up.
Stringing to stop it going wafting all the way up stage. Yeah.
Freddie, the kabuki would literally be like halfway up the stage, covering the poor cast on the slab in the middle of
it
the
would
stage.
Reveal Romeo and Juliet before the show
started.
We
had to put this string across, right?
Between
so then it would
just
up the string, but it did kind of make it look like a curtain, so it was okay. And then we had one of the crew like pulling this string across at clearance. They were like, and they had to get the string across before the kabuki fell so that they could like lift it up. But yeah, the difference that just the auditorium, like with doors being open and the audience being in, the difference that made to like the flying pieces on that show were just ridiculous.
I think it's one of the things, and it's the challenges of moving to a different venue, whether that's weekly, bi-weekly, or whatever. The differences between venues.
You just don't know. That's the thing.
Is ridiculous.
Nothing that you can predict. It changes venue to venue and show to show. Like you could take one show in and have absolutely no issues whatsoever, and then you come in with another show and I think it's incredible how something is almost insignificant in a sense. Obviously it's not, but insignificant as airflow in a building can make such a massive impact on the show and the set.
Well, to be fair, I know we kind of, before we started this, we said we don't really want to talk about COVID and don't want to go into a COVID tangent, but no, but it's really interesting actually. And if you think about COVID, the amount of like the health and safety stuff with, especially the theatres that were lucky enough to open for a little bit, and obviously now they're not, but they have to close. But the actual thing about airflow with COVID and how important that is about having the right kind of air conditioning actually does prove that, you know, if you think about it, actually it makes you think, shit, airflow in a theatre changes so much. I mean, it's even like if you think about Hazer, the difference in if certain doors are open, just naturally it will flow in a different way and it doesn't look as it should do, and it's very difficult obviously to control.
And that's why you guys use fans though, isn't it, really?
Yeah. I mean,
also obviously to disperse it, but directionally as well.
Certainly. I know some designers have, you know, like they have the Hazer facing the wall, but then so it hits the wall and then the fans blow it on so it looks nicer when it comes on stage. But you know, in a lot of touring venues, it's very difficult to get right, and you know, it does actually take 2 or 3 shows actually to work out what is the best way in each venue. Whereas if you're in the West End, I guess once you've got the right idea, you've nailed it. Yeah. You know it's going to be like that for the rest of the time. But on tour, when you're changing every venue, there is so many challenges. I mean, when I walk into a venue, with CO2, you kind of think first thing is, are we going to have an alarm? Is it going to be is it a well ventilated pit? Is it going to be fine? Or when you're looking at the Hazer, is the haze going to be normal, or is it all going to blow? You know, look like it's all kind of building up stage left for no apparent reason, because you kind of sound absolutely normal in this room. Why is it moving there? But of course, it's airflow and it's whatever systems they've got as, you know, heating systems, and if doors are left open, and it just varies so much from venue to venue. And you kind of almost spend the first couple of days just trying to work out how to neutralize it and make it as it should be, and it's very difficult. And then of course a spanner gets thrown in the works, and suddenly 3 days in it just decides to do the exact opposite, and you're just like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to help that. Like, it's now all going stage right. Why? There's no reason why it is, but
sorry,
it's
we're
just
not seeing this next scene. It's
yeah, you're literally just like, what? I mean, obviously haze is very important for lighting, but so it's not, you know, I don't think anyone's actually sitting in the audience going, oh, that's weird, that looks a bit strange, but you kind of have to think.
See, like those theatres that have just got 1,000 doors, so like, well, maybe not doors, but like entrances and exits in a sense. So like Nottingham, you know, Nottingham's really awkwardly, I mean, it's awkwardly shaped, but then there's like doors everywhere on the stage for some reason.
Which Nottingham?
The
Theatre Royal.
Theatre Royal, not the concert hall.
I've never actually been there.
Have you not?
Oh,
you were off Scylla by the time we went there.
No, I'd moved on.
Think.
The challenge with Nottingham Theatre Royal is it looks like there used to be a room, but then the dock carries on stage right. That's all right. So everything kind of flows into that and fills that. And then there's a massive space upstage, which is kind of a big opening in the wall, which looks like an old dock door.
So it's like,
it just disappears up into it. Yeah.
And then there's like a door kind of half. So there's like a door at the back of the stage, even though there's then like all this.
Almost like it's.
And then there's like 2 random other doors. Oh, it's just a bit of a nightmare. So I can imagine haze-wise for you guys, that would be pretty hectic. I can't believe you've never done the Theatre Royal. That's amazing. Have you always done the concert hall?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, it was the venue. It was the venue I was meant to be going to next. Was the concert hall again? But that was after COVID obviously struck. But I have to say, the one thing I love about that setup in Nottingham is I just love listening to the other shows' calls, because
it's all the same, isn't it?
It's a joint backstage, and I think it's like kind of floor 1 is for the concert hall, floor 2 is for the.
It's one of those like half floor venues type thing.
Yeah, you can like share it. It's a really lovely way of actually I walk in and it's like your 5 minute call. And I'm like, wait, really? And then it's like, oh no. And the DSM's turning around and being like, it's a 5 minute call for. I think I was there with Legally Blonde.
Yeah, you have to when you're in Nottingham, you have to say what show you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you absolutely.
We were there with Scylla, Warhorse were there, and Warhorse. I think they went up at 8, and we went up at 7:30.
I think they
Like,
stagger
they-
them. They don't have them at the same time because otherwise.
Yeah.
I want to say the concert hall
That would be
generally.
manic.
is
Comms, like the backstage calls would just be all at the same time. Because all the times that I've been there, it's been 2 theatre shows that I've been in both.
Was
So,
there
well,
anything there when we were with?
one of
It was gigs, wasn't it, when we were there with Romeo and Juliet? I don't think there was another theatre show in.
Oh, was it?
I think it was like comedy one-nighters and stuff that were in there. So
Okay,
because
okay.
we nicked that to stick a truck out there for the loading.
Oh yeah,
'cause
we
it
were
parked
able
up
to.
the top.
We were able to do that because they literally had like a van, wasn't it?
They literally had like a time. Yeah, it wasn't, and they were done
That's-
by like
yeah.
10:30 or whatever. So we were
Uh-huh.
like, sweet, let's get another truck up the street.
Well, that's the thing though. In the Theatre Royal, Freddie, they like when you're on the concert hall side, I think you're in a better position truck wise.
Well, weirdly, with the trucks in the console, it's quite a funny story, I guess. I was doing a loadout, and it was about four in the morning, and I think it's one truck on the door normally, but the tram stops in Nottingham.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because you're on the tram
Right
tracks.
outside the door.
But outside the door, and one of the boys there said, "Well, actually, we could get this in because the first tram's not till 6:30." And I went, "Okay, perfect, let's get it in." So I started loading the LX truck, and it was all going very well, all loading very, very quickly. And one of them turned around, they kept being like, "Are we going to make it? Because we're really in trouble if it goes wrong." And I said, "No, it's fine. We're absolutely, I'm 10 minutes away from finishing this truck." And I wasn't lying.
The trams not have brakes?
What? No, the trams weren't running until 6:30 in the morning, so we were
Right.
fine. But of course, the one thing we all forgot was there might be the tram. The first tram's at 6:30, but what if that tram needs to get to the other end of the track? That's where it lives. So at 5:30 in the morning, it was an empty tram, not in service tram, but trying to get to the start of his journey.
Oh
Turned
no!
And very, very luckily, as I closed the doors. So I closed the doors on the truck and went,
Oh, because Chief LX and he gets everything done on time.
No, it was really, really lucky. And I had no idea. I just heard this beeping and it was a tram being like, "Can you move out my way?" And I was literally like, "Oh my God." And
I don't drive trucks. I can't even
I
drive
just
them.
back them.
I can literally,
Oh, so the tube, mate.
luckily we finished it. And I was like, "Right, close the doors, get rid of that truck now." And just completely
I
forgot.
don't care if I've missed half of the fucking cases that are meant to be on it. Get it to
Get rid of it. But we'd all just gone, "Oh, well, there's no first tram till 6:30, completely forgetting that actually the depot where they start, obviously, they might need to drive to the other end. So you can have the tram going in both directions. So luckily, the tram was held up for about 2 minutes, I think, luckily we had a very good Matthews driver who got straight in the cab and said, "Are you happy with this?" and just got it straight out and got rid of it. So it was not a problem in the end, but I was actually like, that could have gone drastically wrong. If we were halfway through the truck back, we'd have been in a bit of trouble. I don't know what we would have done. We'd had to just somehow move it and just been like,
Go and get a coffee, mate, because this isn't moving for another good.
It's not moving. Yeah. We were very lucky, and the tram managed to get away, so it was fine. But
Do
no,
you-
I do.
Did you use Matthews?
Sorry, we use Matthews. Yeah, we use Paul Matthews.
Ah,
And actually, the one thing I love about Nottingham as well is the difference. I feel like once you've done Nottingham, every DSM just seems to always still repeat the show they're doing, even though you're the only show in the venue. It's like there's so many DSMs I've worked with.
well, just to make sure that everybody knows.
Everyone knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, have I forgotten I'm on this show? Because they always go, "It's your 5-minute call," and well, not all of them, but some of them go, "It's your 5-minute call for," and then name the show. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm now in Southampton or Plymouth, and there's only one. Well, actually, Plymouth's a bad example because there's 2 theatres there. But
There's only one show here.
Yeah.
There's only one show here. You don't just tell me which show I'm on.
Oh no, it's like York. In York, you need to fucking. There's no back of house call system, so you need to
Get
run
running.
around chatting all the dressing rooms.
with a bell.
Oh, well, no, I didn't go with a bell. I've got a foghorn for a mouth. So I was just like,
Yeah, that's true.
"You're off our call. Thank you very much." You just like literally, but there's only one floor of dressing rooms anyway, so it doesn't take you very long. But you do need to run up and down the stairs doing it
Could
all.
be
Do you know what
worse.
I mean?
Could you imagine somewhere like Sadler's running
Oh
up to
no,
like
absolutely
wardrobe
not.
on like the
Like,
second floor?
4
and-
floors or something like that.
yeah,
Absolutely
it's
not.
massive.
Or the theatre, like see in Dublin. Oh my god, the amount of stairs in Dublin is just I mean, they've got a lift. They've got a lift for a reason. But
I mean,
But after you half though, you're in trouble.
surely,
or Edinburgh
surely
Playhouse
there's
and
worse.
stairs, mate.
What the
Well, even
playhouse?
I had an arse like Kim K after a week down there. I tell you now. I swear to God, up and down 19 million flights of stairs every week. I was like, damn.
So what happens
Jesus.
when they build a theatre into the side of a hill?
Yeah, well, yeah. Whose idea was that? Huh?
It's been there a while. Let's put it that way.
I do love it there though, and they have a ghost lamp. Do you know what I mean?
I was like, is that Frank Mitchell?
I think it is a Frank Matcham.
Whose idea was that? The greatest designer. I don't.
The greatest theatre designer of all time. Who the fuck thought putting a theatre in a hill was a good idea?
So we're just talking general differences of like different theatres and how the massive amount of challenges, even down to difference between two theatres in the same city, Playhouse in Edinburgh and Festival in Edinburgh.
Oh,
I don't think you'd struggle to find two completely different theatres in the same place, but can host a UK #1 touring show, either of them. But
yeah.
I think there are definitely, we face challenges in theatre that very few other people would ever come across. I think if you think of a loadout at Newcastle Theatre Royal on the street, with everyone enjoying their Saturday
And I'll
night.
tell you, Cal, I will tell you right now, a loadout at the Newcastle Theatre Royal, and Freddie will back me up on this, is the exact same as a loadout at the King's in Glasgow.
Okay.
Freddie, would you agree it's exactly the same? You get people, random guys helping you up the ramp with his flight case, to which you, in my case, I think it's somebody from the crew helping me out, and I turn around, it's two drunk people being like, oh, and I'm like, okay, thank you, but also get off the fucking truck.
In Glasgow, do you have to have security? Because I think Newcastle have got security now. I think that the last.
Yeah. No, well,
We didn't have a
I
security.
mean, I've not been a cashier for a while.
Yeah.
I've not been a cashier there for a while, so I'm not exactly 100% sure. But we've never had security because I feel like all of us crew acted as security.
Well, that's true. I have to say,
And
the two things you definitely do have common, Glasgow and Newcastle, is how lovely everyone is. I mean, I don't think I actually I found people who have not been lovely. Everyone's very, very welcoming and very, very lovely, especially. But the Newcastle crew and the Glasgow crew, especially, I mean, I can name loads more. I mean, Stoke are just lovely.
Oh,
So many
Stoke!
lovely
Oh,
crew.
Stoke! I love the boys in Stoke.
But I think
What?
the base
Yeah.
luckily is really, really good, and everyone's lovely. But I think those three really stand out, and I think that
Yeah.
Newcastle.
For me, it's Newcastle. Newcastle are my boys,
I
man.
just-
Obviously Glasgow, but I can't really say that because I'm biased.
But Newcastle is no surprise.
That's my home.
If you walk when you walk into the Newcastle stage door, by the lift there, they have all of their awards, and they've been given like so many awards. Like they've been voted. I don't know what is it. Not is it what's on stage?
Like it's
What's
not
on
like the
stage,
friendliest.
yeah.
I know what you're talking about
They
though.
have like the best, like most friendly, most welcoming crew, and they've won it literally
Yeah.
16, 17,
Best
18, 19.
stage door and like best green room area. It's all those kind of things, which they do have. Like the Newcastle Theatre Royal is by far my favourite touring venue. Like every time I'm going there, I'm absolutely buzzing.
But they're just a really, really lovely bunch. And I mean, as I said, most
Even though it's an awkward venue.
it
Well,
is
it couldn't
but
be much more awkward.
Exactly. It's an awkward venue, but it
So is
makes
Glasgow and so
the
is Stoke.
crew make it.
And that's what's really weird is that Stoke, Glasgow, and Newcastle, all three of them, are very awkward venues to go into. And it's like the crew kind of already know that, so they're kind of like just so lovely the whole time.
Right, this is my number one for anybody who is like a first time tourer or I don't know, just listening for the bands, right? Always ask your crew, like ask the locals so see like things like taking stuff off a wagon, right? So you can what to do, suggest to them what previous crews have done, what you would suggest, maybe using strops to lift something. Usually we do it like this, but always listen to your local crew, as I promise you, they will know far better than you will how it works for them and how to get it into their venue. And if it's awkward, if it's difficult, whatever, they will know. Like, just ask them and just trust them and just go with what they want, because one, you've got to have them working for you all day, so you've got to keep them happy. But two, also, they're going to know their venue better than you do. Of course they do. They do it every week. We are not there every week. We're there for 1 week of.
But I also think the one thing you've got to remember as well, though, and I totally agree with you there. The other thing you people have got to respect, and I think that actually maybe, you know, advice for someone who's new coming into the industry would be, obviously exactly what you've just said, but also more importantly, some of the, you know, a lot of these people have been there, done it. They've been on tour.
Oh, absolutely. They are veterans, and that is who you want to learn from.
And they're literally, they know everything about it. They've been there, done that, and they are decided that actually they don't want to be on the road anymore. So instead, they've just you know, bought a lovely house.
And now they're part of the furniture in that theatre, and they basically run it. Because
but they also know, and you know, they know a lot more than you do.
Precisely.
They don't look down on you, but you certainly don't look down on them. And I think that
absolutely not. And you never ever be scared to just say, how do you guys want to do this? Or is there a better way we could do this? Or blah, 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 blah. Because one main thing you learn from it. And the second thing is, it's going to make everyone's life a hell of a lot easier.
There's no substitute for experience when it comes to this industry. You learn, always learning.
And they are so experienced, you know, so many.
Sickeningly experienced. Like, the things I learned from local crews, honestly, like, I could rhyme them off, right? JC in Glasgow, Shane and Davey in Newcastle, wee Tony in Plymouth, like, honest to God, Andy and the boys and Cookie at the Lowry, like, every time I go back, I learn something new off of them, because they are absolute veterans at what they do. They know it inside out, back to front. They've been on the road, they've been there, they've done it, and they've always got suggestions, and you literally just need to be a sponge and like soak that info up and then use it again, and then you'll find yourself using it again in a different venue, or maybe somewhere that you think, okay, this is a similar situation we've had before, we can use this that I've learned from such and such. Do you know what I mean? It's absolutely imperative, like, to your learning, I think.
Absolutely. And I think
like, getting time with all these guys.
Yeah, and sorry, go on.
No, carry on.
No, I'm just saying
I'm done with my time. Okay, now you can talk, Freddie.
Cal, say what you're going to say.
No, carry on, please.
Me?
I think we're all waiting for each other here. This is hilarious.
Cal, you go.
Completely went off the script.
Always. Well, technically, we haven't got a script. We're just merging everything into one conversation, which is great. So it kind of brings me on to a point that I've put in the kind of question and stuff at the start, which is obviously about ways and stuff into the industry, and kind of I've had a couple of discussions with various people of the people's idea that you need of the need for a degree, and kind of that, do you need one? Do you not? It's university versus experience?
Personally, for me, uni was not like very helpful in my sense. Okay. However, because my, like, the actual course itself, the people who were teaching us and such hadn't actually really worked in theatre at all. So for me, I was like, nah, I learned so much more in about it, like practical learning. But I am a practical learner, so I can't really speak for everyone in that sense. I don't think you need a degree to do what we do. I think most of it is hands-on experience, and the best people at the jobs come from kind of homegrown, like, you just learn on the job. And I don't know what drama school's like, because I didn't go, but I feel like no matter what you do in a textbook, you cannot, like for what we do, you can't learn that in a book. You can't. You have to be in about it. You have to literally be doing the hands-on work and learning off of these men that were like, I say men, sorry, people. These people who we were just speaking about now. What are you all laughing for? Cut that out as well if you want. Nah, majority of the time it's older guys. Sometimes there's women. I'm not gonna like.
I think it was a realization moment for Freddie and I then that it is very true that it is mostly men.
Well, yeah, it's a male-dominated industry. So all you gals out there, get in about it, because I've been in about it for a few years now, and it's bang on. So yeah, personally, I think uni is not a must. I think it's all about the practical side of it, because the more you get practical hands-on experience with it, is the better you become at it. You can't learn this shit in a book. That's it. There's no two ways about it. You can't fucking learn it in a book. That's it. You can't. You need to be in about it, doing shows and all that, and just getting stuck in.
I think that.
So,
I mean, I have to go. I mean, my way into the industry is at university. I went to Leeds University, and I studied politics, which I mean, I don't know. I've never used it in my life, but
politics, friends.
But
instead
of actually studying politics, I spent my whole time in the theatre there, and then there was an amazing society at Leeds University, and it's still going. It's Backstage Society, and it's absolutely fantastic. And I know that I think Bristol have a kind of similar thing, but not every university has one, and a lot of them actually just rely on one or two people to kind of do it. But we had a full society, which ended up being, lucky enough, I helped run when I was there. But we would do everything, and it was from start to finish. We'd be given a budget of, I don't know, let's say, £3,000 to do a show, and we would do lighting, sound, set, everything, and we'd have for example, I would production manage a show, and it'd be my job to then do what a normal production manager in our actual world would do, which is allocate who gets what money, just oversee everything. And I think that I do agree with the hands-on experience. And saying that, I've worked with so many people who are fantastic and who have been to drama school. So I don't know if there's a right answer to either or, but I think the overall answer is you are right, Erin, about experience. Experience is the most important thing. Whether you get that experience from the drama school or whether you get that experience from a normal university, you get that experience from the church hall where you're happy just to, you're doing the lighting for the local Amdram. I don't think it matters. I think just the overall thing that.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. Yeah, of course. Like, I think experience, regardless of where it is or whatever, experience is definitely on the card. So you're saying you had a £3,000 budget for shows?
Certain shows we had about £3,000. Some obviously,
right.
Some
okay. So I'm just to put it in perspective a little bit, right? So that's incredible that you had that, and that for a show in the grand scheme of things isn't a very big budget, is it?
No, it's absolutely tiny. But
no. So our uni, let me just to put it in perspective, right? At my uni, the budget that we would get would be about £500. So if even that, so we had to like beg, borrow, steal, do all that stuff, which is fine. You do that, and that's kind of the fun of it. But that's because, well, one, we weren't a society. That was an actual course, should we say? But that's also, I think, one of the good parts about it is that you learn that you like see the things, even the little things that seem little but aren't in an actual show are like props and things. You would beg, borrow, steal props, right? But they have to be to the time period. They have to fit in all these different ways. So you do it completely allows you to like have your creative juices flowing and have to kind of, well, yeah, be resourceful as such to I can't find my words. To be resourceful in order to put a show on. Like, that's pretty much it. But you get that's amazing that you had a society and there were so many people involved, because you had quite a lot of people, didn't you?
So I think our society, we had about 60 people who were members, and our membership was £5 a year. We weren't making any money in the society, but we weren't. The thing that was brilliant was that we weren't spending. What we did as a society was, I think we took something like 10%, I don't know, 5% of ticket sales for the show. So it was actually the performance societies, which are big universities, obviously extremely popular. A lot of people love acting, and they have massive societies who all paying membership, and then they do their shows and then they sell tickets. And actually, it's entertainment for the rest of the university. I mean, Legion University Union, where we had our theatre, was absolutely buzzing. So you'd sell out, and actually you sell out 300 seats, 400 seats at £6. Actually, you can afford to put on these kind of big shows, and the show would obviously pay for the next one. So we did have a good amount of money to play with when we needed to, but we were doing it properly. So we had, I think every time I production managed one, it was as a lampy, for me in my head, I'm like, oh God, £800 is already straight to sound, because we need to get 8 radio mics for this show, and that's how much it costs for a hire for a week. And and then we were very lucky; we had very good relationships with 2 amazing companies in Leeds, one lighting company and one they did set, but mainly sound company, but they did a bit of set as well. And so we'd get really good deals, and they would. I think actually, because we had contacts with both companies who had people who were ex-students who had got into the industry as they did through doing what we did. So the owner of Zigzag, which is the lighting company in Leeds, used to be backstage, and he kind of created it all from that, and he just has an absolute love for it. So he was so generous of what he used to give us. He basically just kind of effectively said to us, look, I know you've got a really small budget, but if it's not, can I just give you whatever's not, if it's left on the shelf, I'd rather it with you guys. You guys
have it.
It was so lovely, because
I had a similar thing with our so before I went into theatre, I obviously done like rock and roll lighting and stuff like that for a bit at SM Lighting, and I was very lucky in that sense that when I was at uni, I would just use Scott, and he would let me, whatever wasn't going out on gigs, he would just let me have free range of, and I could just use whatever I needed for our uni shows and things like that, which was absolutely ideal for us. So a similar thing.
I think that's
in that sense, it makes such a difference not having to budget that in.
There's so many people out there who make such an effort to give back to young people trying to start up and do it.
Yeah,
and it's absolutely fantastic. And I know the big companies like PRG, White Light, and Autograph, all those, the ones that everyone uses. They all have I know that I'm pretty sure they all have schemes of trying to, they do their bit, because
almost like apprentices.
Yeah, well, there are most of them do run an apprenticeship scheme, or whatever. Most of them will run an apprenticeship scheme to get into that, and then normally leads to some form of employment with them afterwards. So it's,
and that's how I got into the industry. Like, I started out and I done my work experience at a lighting company in Glasgow, SM Lighting, Mr. Scott Monroe, always been my boss man.
Erin,
what am I?
Erin, what you're actually telling me is that you are a lampy.
Lampy at heart.
No, don't tell anyone.
You said it probably on a podcast that you're a lampy.
Am I cutting it out?
I'm a chippy now. I'm a chippy flash.
Mate, this is going over to Wookie, Dylan.
Management. No, don't tell it.
Turn around.
Don't tell me.
Do not
tell me.
They're not going to let you touch anything. They're going to be absolutely disgusted with you.
Well, I'm not a lampy anymore, okay? I'm not a lampy anymore. I binned 2 par cans from my room the other day. I binned them.
Why?
What? Well, I was going to turn them into lamps literally a million years ago, and then ever since then they've just sat in my room. But what used to have for 2 par cans now?
Turn them into lamps.
You know what I mean? Well, yeah, I was going to turn them into lamp, but now I'm not a lamp.
Surely being a chippy, putting them on a stand is the easy bit.
I like wood and automation and stage management, okay? No, I like it all. This is why I'm a tech swing, because I like it all. But no, sorry, I went off on a tangent again. I started out doing work experience at school, worked for a rock and roll company. I done tea in the park, I done the Barrowlands, I was doing gigs here and there. Then I ended up in theatre. But what was my point to this story?
Well, then you met me, Erin.
Oh, and then I met Freddie, and my life was ruined from then on.
I think the big.
You need another haircut, by the way. I need to come down to London and cut your hair because
Yeah, I clearly need a haircut.
get it cut. Oh my Christ!
Tier 3 haircuts.
Oh my Christ! Oh, it's allowed in theatre. Theatre.
That's it. That's I think my biggest issue with theatre being closed is that I'm used to just getting asking very nice. I think just get
The wig.
asking the head of wigs with a bottle of wine as a prize to cut my hair, and they've always done it, and they've always done a very
Yeah, me too.
and that's unfortunately since March I haven't had a head of wigs. So unfortunately, when I saw her, no, I say unfortunately, she did a very good job. When I saw her when we were allowed to in August before everything went, cracked down again, Erin did cut my hair, I have to say, and she did a very good job. So maybe your tech swing could roll into being a wig.
Wigs and wardrobe.
Yes. I would love to do wigs and wardrobe. I mean, I dressed for a while. I was a dresser when I was a Kazi. I mean, it was fun.
Dressed for a while.
Also, what?
Naked the rest of the time.
You're so funny. No, shall I just tell everyone about the amount of times I have to dress you or undress you and put you in your pajamas? No? We'll just leave that out, shall we?
Let's cut that out.
Yeah, this bit's carnage. It's fine. I think the biggest point out of all of that we kind of touched on was that everyone kind of started out somewhere. So as you kind of make your way, you always feel like that you're not duty bound, but you always feel like you want to give back to someone and give them and be that person that gives them their chance or their opportunity.
This is why see when like work experience people come in when we're on tour, I'm always like, give them to me, because I remember being that little, I say little, sorry, that was condescending. That's not what I meant. I remember first time going into theatre and my eyes were just like as big as my head. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And seeing that look on people's faces when they come in, I'm just like, this is incredible because you're just as starstruck as I was.
Yeah.
And you want to learn, and I absolutely love it. And I'm like, coming, and although they probably go away from it thinking, who was that crazy Scottish woman that they've just stuck
I didn't
to
understand half of what she said.
For 3 hours, and I don't know what she was saying, and I don't know blah, 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 whatever. Like, I really, really love, like, passing on everything that I've learned so far, because I'm by absolutely no means a veteran at this yet. Like, gosh, I've only been touring like 4 years, 3 years, 4 years, 3 or 4 years. So I'm by no means a veteran, but I'm like, I can't wait to like pass on all my knowledge. Even though I don't have that much of it yet, I can't wait to pass on all my knowledge to like youngsters who are up for it and really want to learn about it all. I think
we all have a passion to work in this industry, and I think at times it gets.
Oh, you wouldn't do it if you didn't have a passion.
And I think that gets a little bit misconstrued that the arts is a hobby, because we all go do stupid hours and put everything into it, and it essentially takes over our lives, which it does, and everything centers around that. That it kind of people go, oh, well, you work in theatre, and just automatically associate it with certain things. And I think, like you said, having that passion, you have to have it, I think, to work in industry. I don't know anyone really who's in the industry. Well, I don't know anyone in the industry who doesn't have a passion for it in some shape or form, whatever that may be, whether it's.
You don't do it if you don't love it, because what you wouldn't. I'm sorry, but
I think
the amount of time you're away from home, you just wouldn't do it if you didn't love it, would you?
But even if you work in town, I think you just wouldn't do it if you love it, because everyone else in town, everyone else, and most of your other friends, I would say, work 9 to 5 or 8 to 6 or whatever they're doing. At 6 o'clock they just go home. That's when you're starting work. You're not, the social aspect actually is weird coming out of a theatre at 10:30, 11 p.m. and then it's like that's when your social life kind of start. But I think the most important thing I would say, and my mum works in theatre as well, and one thing she said to me when I was really young, and that's always stuck by me. And I think absolutely true. And I think that most people listening to this who work in theatre would feel the same. Is she said, the moment I do not feel nervous before a show, and when I say nervous, I don't mean like, oh, I'm really, really nervous, like you get on first night, but
No, but you've got that. Yeah, the
the
buzz.
buzz that we all know. The moment I don't feel that buzz before a show is the moment I will leave the industry and retire, or just not do it anymore, because it means you don't care anymore. And it doesn't matter what show I do, when that overture goes bam, or I know it's LXQ1, I feel that rush every night still. And
the adrenaline is we are adrenaline junkies in a small form. Do you know what I mean?
I think some people will call it pressure, but it's not pressure. It's not the pressure that we feel. No,
it's not. It's not even pressure.
Yeah.
It is. It's adrenaline. It's complete adrenaline. And I completely agree with your mum in that sense. The moment I don't feel that anymore is probably when I will give it up.
But I think that is the best.
I'm addicted to it. I'm absolutely addicted to that feeling.
Absolutely. And I think that would be, the best advice I can give anyone coming up in the industry is, look, it's long hours, unsociable hours. If you're on tour, as we are, we have been.
You have FOMO for the rest of your life if you're going to
all the stuff at home.
You're missing out on everything at home, but if you love it, it doesn't matter.
If you're working in the West End, you can join people for drinks at 11 o'clock at night, or you can go to someone's birthday at 11 o'clock, but you ain't going at 7 when everyone else is going out for dinner. But if you get that rush and you love that rush, then there's nothing better, and it's a no-brainer. And everyone goes, but if you don't have that rush, it means you don't care. I know it's not really bad, but I feel like you don't.
No, you don't. I completely agree.
But I think not what I'm trying to say. Sorry, I think you just don't. It might not be the industry for you. You need to care so much that if something goes wrong on the show, you can't just go around and be like, "Well, there's another one tomorrow. It's fine." You've actually, you've got to.
No, that's not. That's absolutely not. It doesn't matter about tomorrow. It's
every performance is the same. And it doesn't matter if the Queen was in. It wouldn't make a difference, because
absolutely not.
I care about is the fact that we've got 1,000 people out there potentially. We'll see. It depends on the venue, but so you've got 1,000 people out there paying X amount of money. It's their hard-earned money, which they've worked very hard to do, and they want some entertainment. There is no excuse for it not going right. If it goes wrong, obviously things do go wrong, but we don't want it to. And I care equally whether Queen Elizabeth II was sat out there watching it when it went wrong, or whether James from Slough was out there watching it. It doesn't matter to me, because they're both James from Slough probably bought his ticket, whereas the Queen wouldn't have bought a ticket.
Exactly.
These guys need entertainment, and that is our jobs, and that's what we do, and it's fun.
Exactly. We entertain, and we make it look good. And this is the thing. It might seem like, I know it seems like a hobby to people, but it's so not, isn't it? It's so not. I love it though. See, I know for a fact I am going to be bawling my eyes out the minute I step foot on a stage. I don't know when it's going to be. I don't know where it's going to be, but I am going to be bawling my fucking eyes out.
I am,
because I want nothing more than to start a fucking fit up at 8 a.m, even an 8 o'clock start.
Mate, give me an overnight load-in. I don't care. Give me an overnight load-in. I'll go do it now.
Aye, do you know what? I'll start whenever. I will never moan about a loadout. I'll never moan about anything ever again. I just want to be on a stage.
Absolutely.
Putting a fucking.
I am slightly worried for myself when that first note of an overture goes, that I might just burst into tears when we do it.
Oh no, I'm going to be gone. I'm going to be crying my eyes out.
Get the plastics out on the lighting desk.
Yeah.
Get the waterproofs
out.
Oh, and XQ2 is not happening because Freddy's just in ball.
Freddy's in bits.
Just like, I miss it so much.
Ball on the floor.
Get the dustpan and brush.
I think that's the thing, and I think it's something that unless you're in the industry, people don't get. And I think for a lot of people, that you get a lot of people who do it at school, who do it as kind of an amdram hobby and stuff like that. And there aren't many. It's a small industry. There aren't a huge amount of people in it, and everyone knows everyone. So actually, it's kind of there aren't, some people don't know people who work in it. And I mean, Gaz in a previous podcast explained it as that we're the magical theatre pixies who make it all happen, that people don't realize that, oh yeah, of course. They kind of, oh yeah, all that does have to happen. And you're like, yep, that's what I do. And you're never going to see me. But
the whole point of it is that if we fuck up, then yes, you might see us or you notice something. But the whole point of it really is that you don't notice us. Do you know what I mean? So we are technically fairies in that sense, and that's gonna be my claim. I am Tinkerbell. I need applause to live, right?
Is that
this
what
is
it is?
me.
Okay.
I'm not even a fucking cast member. I need applause to live. And yeah, like we're not visible, and that's the whole point of it, is that you don't see us. But that's what I love. And the adrenaline, I miss it. I'm going to cry. I love it. I'm going to actually bawl my eyes out the minute I step foot on a
I think
stage.
it's going to be emotional for everyone.
And opening night in whatever show I'm next on, I swear to God.
Until I go to tip that
Freddie,
first case and then I realise I can't lift it.
I just think the thing is, it's going to be that first note of the overture. I think that's not going to make me feel sad. What's going to make me feel a bit emotional is I just know that the audience are going to go ballistic. And that's
it's going to be mental.
It's going to be the bit that goes, Jesus, that's really, really hit me. I mean, I was very lucky enough to know that I saw Christmas Carol last week, which is fantastic. And unfortunately, obviously, it's now closed, which is really, really shit. And that was really lovely to be in a theatre again. And the curtain call was brilliant. But it's a Christmas Carol, which is it's a fantastic piece of work. And Brian Connolly was unbelievable.
Oh, did you go and see it?
Yeah, it was absolutely brilliant.
Did your mum go?
Yeah, me and my mother and Ollie went. But sorry.
Oh, nice.
Ollie lives in my house as well, so it's three of us went. And we were. And it was unbelievable, and it was so nice to be back in the theatre. But because it was Christmas Carol, not a big musical or not a ballet, it was a fantastic piece of theatre because it's a play. It's a bit more like.
But did it just not give you that thing?
It absolutely did, and everyone went mad at the end. But it's not like going to a musical where everyone's stood up at the end and going absolutely ballistic because they're all singing along and dancing. It's a very different show.
What a night?
Yeah, it's not Jersey.
Oh, what a night!
It's not Aberystwyth, it's not Scylla. It's not any of those massive shows where they have a massive ending number. But it was amazing to be back in the theatre. It was so safe, and that's what really has annoyed me in the last week, because I felt 10 times more safe at that theatre, and that's a credit to NIMAX, because but no, obviously Nico Burns and NIMAX have done that in all their theatres, and it's the Dominion NIMAX, I don't even know, but credit to Dominion, because it's Dominion. But all of these producers who have made it COVID safe, it felt so bloody safe.
Obviously, everyone gets asked the same two questions. Erin, you have already answered these, but now you've got notes. You have got notes, so I feel like you might have some better answers this time. And it's quite interesting.
Cheeky bugger.
I mean, however, you're not the only one to say post-show curry. I'm just throwing that out there. I've had other people on other podcasts
because everybody loves the post-show curry. Who doesn't? Poppadoms, mango chutney, spicy onions.
So.
Give me it all.
So first question, I do that, and I'm pretty sure this one might not have changed for Erin, but dream show or gig that you could work on. What is that one show that's there that is it? You couldn't say no to, regardless of what it is, or that you wish would happen if it's someone for that. That's
for me.
Yeah.
I've already.
Erin's already answered it. It's obviously just all the musicals.
I have to actually say I've been so lucky in my career that
Freddie's already done his dream musical. His dream musical was Jersey Boys. There you go.
Two dream musicals were seriously Mamma Mia and Jersey Boys, and somehow I've managed to do both of them. So I'm
Oh, somehow, yeah.
really,
Oh, friend.
thanks, Eric. No, I'm really, really lucky. They are probably my dream musical. I guess the one musical I would want to do would be like the original Ghost musical. I remember seeing in the theatre when I was younger and absolutely loved it. So I'd love to be able to do that. But other than potentially, as I said, the original Ghost, like,
The one with the video screens?
yeah, it was just such a production. Other than that, I think I say I'm so lucky, and I've kind of managed to tick off Mamma Mia and Jersey Boys, which are just my two favourite musicals, and other than Ghost. So I guess that's it. I'm just really lucky.
Moments you wish it froze.
Yes, you are just really lucky, yeah.
So, Erin, you're not good. I take it you, unless you want to still go with the same answer that you gave. But bear in mind,
It is the same
but
answer. It's Billy Elliot.
Billy Elliot.
Okay.
But it's on nowhere, is it?
You might have already listened to my last one. I'm sorry if you have, but it's Billy Elliot. It used to be Wicked, but I've just got this thing about Wicked that I just don't really want to work on it because I don't want to ruin it for myself.
Don't want to ruin the magic.
You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. That
Like,
makes sense.
I adored, right, so this is a funny one. I adored Jersey Boys. It was one of my favourite musicals, like top 5, top 3, top 5, top 5.
Felt like that was a tougher decision.
Then I done it for 10. Well, yeah. Then I done it for 10 months, and then I thought, okay, I've done it now. It's not really my favourite anymore. But having 2 years away from it, I now adore it again, and I can listen to it again. So I don't know. Maybe Wicked will be there at some point, but I just don't think I want to work on it because I just don't want to ever ruin it for myself.
Flying.
Billy Elliot, I really want to do. I love it. I just absolutely love the show. I've seen it in the West End. I don't know how many times. I just absolutely adore it, and I would really like to work on it. And it's got some really sick automation.
Question 2. What is that go-to post-show snack or thing that you have to have after a show? Our answers have been very varied.
Okay, so I'm gonna be a weird one here, and I think I've been ostracised by the industry here. everyone.
No, calm down, Freddie. Calm down.
And you wait. When they find out, and when they actually try what I have during a loadout, they all go, "That is the best thing in the world." So I'm a bit weird. Some people have chocolate. Some I get a shit ton of salami.
Freak. He's a fucking freak. He just eats sliced salami, usually from Sainsbury's, mostly just whatever supermarket shop is closest. But the salami thing freaks me out. I love salami, but on a loadout, absolutely fucking not.
There is nothing better. At 3 a.m, as a pick-me-up, 3 a.m, I turn around to my production staff and say, "Bit of salami," and they go, "That's a bit."
No, you fucking weirdo. I just want to add
and they literally go, "That is the best thing I've ever had."
I don't feel like salami is a good pocket snack. In the pocket.
Okay.
Salami on a loadout is perfect, but I would say after a show, first thing I want, pie in the local.
What's your pint, Freds? What's your pint?
Well, actually, you said Amstel, but actually, my go-to pint would be Kronenberg, but.
Kronenberg.
What is if Kronenberg's not available? It'd be
all right, pipe down dark fruits.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love a fucking dark fruits or a Guinness. I'm happy with either. It's a beautiful pint of Guinness or a dark
to make sure it doesn't sound like she just drinks Ribena after a show.
Oh, shut up. Geese peace, man. Geese peace. I'm on the wine these days, do you know what I mean? But pint-wise, Guinness or a dark fruits, and my snack. Can either of you guess it?
After show?
Yeah.
Pickled Monster Munch.
Yeah! Pickled onion Monster Munch, baby.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Woo! That wasn't... Don't worry.
Right.
Nothing...
Final question, and we've kind of touched on it already, but what's the one thing, one bit of advice that you know now that you wish you'd known starting out that would have made your life 100 times easier?
Okay, I have something, but it's also something that I need to tell myself now.
Sounds good.
But I would also want to
I've known it.
reiterate to someone, if that makes sense. So don't get frustrated with yourself that you don't know everything now, because nobody knows everything now. And in this industry, everything is, all the technology and absolutely everything is ever changing. So do not get frustrated with not knowing everything now, because you're never fucking gonna. So just take your time. You'll surprise yourself at how much you actually learn when you do just absorb what's being taught, take everything in, and if you mess up, you say my bad, and you call it, and that's fine. It doesn't matter, because you're learning, and just literally absorb everything you can, because you will surprise yourself at how much you will then take on from that. But when I was starting out, and even still now, I get really frustrated with myself that I don't know everything already. But of course you're not going to know everything already. Of course you're not. You need to learn. Everybody starts somewhere. Everybody has to learn. But just give yourself that time to learn, because if you don't, you're only going to be your own worst enemy in that sense. Because I was really, really bad at not dealing with the fact that I didn't know something. Like, I was like, oh my God, that's so bad that I don't know that. No, it's not. Just learn it. And then you do know it. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah. And don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid. And don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah, exactly. Do not ever be afraid to ask questions, because everyone is happy to answer them. Everyone's happy to show you another way of doing something. If one way doesn't work for you, there's always 18 million other ways for it to happen and for it to make sense in your head. So if one way doesn't work for you, just be open to other ideas.
It's been I think it's some really good advice and things to kind of end this podcast on. It's been an absolute blast chatting to you, and hopefully someone will find it useful.
Yeah.
Well, we have.
Hope so.
Guys, it's been great, and best of luck with whatever you've got going on in the near future.
Thank you for listening to the Stage Is Yours podcast. Want to know more? Then head over to all of our socials. You can find us at Stage Is Yours Pod, where you can catch a cheeky glimpse at some of our upcoming guests, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to make sure that you never miss an episode. This has been the Stage Is Yours podcast, talking all things theatre and events. Until next time.